Okay, we're back.
Relevant topic for me that I'm actually in Brussels right now by invitation.
The screen glows blue in a room of dust and mold. Another death threat, another story told. Eat shit and die, says the ghost behind the mask. They want me murdered, is that such a heavy task? Some she they freak with a mental fucking hole. Wants to see the maggot swallow up my soul. They hope I ride on a cross of roach and slime, but I'm just sitting here killing fucking time. I've got the infinity gauntlet of the broken and the mad. The diaper sexual furries, they're all so fucking sad. They scream into the void of a sight that doesn't care, while I'm clicking these pliers, breathing stagnant air. So put them in the box, let the walls be cold and white. Throw the keys away and end this mental blight. Institutalize the rot, let the asylums rise again. I'm the harbinger of logic, the surgeon of their pain. The world will be a paradise, a clean and silent land, when every screaming retard is dealt a heavy hand. Yeah, put 'em in the box. Blue skies a cesspool where the moderation's limp. Every basement dwelling loser, every blue-haired pimp, advocating murder in the name of being kind, while Section 20 leaves the justice fucking blind. They say I'm a net negative, a cancer on the earth, but their own pathetic lives haven't seen a moment's worth. They're begging on their cash apps, crying on the floor, while I'm the one they hate, and I'm the one they adore. Success is measured in decades, like the prophecy of doom. If you strike me down today, you'll be singing a different tune. A million more will rise, a million more will fight. You can't kill an idea with your petty childish spite. I don't fear the reaper, I don't fear the grave. Before I was born, I was nothing. There's nothing left to say. irrelevant retard. Right? That's what you said. But you're still watching. You're always watching.
How bad is this fraud?
This is the worst fraud in human history.
How have Somalians gotten into the system to fraud the American taxpayer?
They have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fraudulent companies set up, and they're sucking billions of dollars out of the state of Minnesota.
And how have you seen the weaponization of the word racist and Islamophobe take power here? Here in Minnesota, potentially the largest fraud to ever happen in America is happening right now, as billions of dollars has been laundered and funneled and given to Somali-ran businesses here inside of Minnesota, all across the state. I'm here in Minneapolis right now, and I'm meeting with a man who's been doing his own research for years, as he's been speculating this fraud, as he's seen it blatantly inside of his neighborhoods and the areas that he calls home. This is an interview with a man who has done everything possible to expose the fraud, and now let's get into the interview. What's the need for $2.25 million for a daycare?
$1 million.
I don't. How come they said this building was closed? There's a lot of fraud happening here in Minnesota. You've been living here for years now. How bad is this fraud?
So I was born in Minneapolis a long time ago. I've lived my whole life here, and my opinion is that this is the worst fraud in human history, what is occurring in Minnesota and more specifically in the Twin Cities right now.
How much money do you think has been sent around fraudulently here inside Minnesota?
Over the years, I would say anywhere from 80 to $100 billion.
And right now the big controversy is with Tim Walz and his government and the fraud that they've allowed to happen within the Somalian community. Right behind us is Cedar Riverside, a location where it is very densely populated with Somalians. How have Somalians gotten into the system to fraud the American taxpayer?
Well, so that complex you're seeing behind there, I attended the University of Minnesota, and in the area we're on right now, this is the West Bank, and it was always called the West Bank, and it was sort of the place to be when you're in college, and that was all student housing, 100%. That building you see in the background, it's now 100% Somali. And I can tell you confidently, they don't pay for their housing, they don't pay for their food, they don't pay for their vehicles, and on top of that, they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fraudulent companies set up, and they're sucking billions of dollars out of the state of Minnesota.
And how are they sucking billions of dollars out of the state of Minnesota?
Well, one example would be with the hundreds of child care facilities that they have set up, and on every one that I visited, and I've been to maybe 100 of them or more, I never, ever have seen one child at any facilities ever over the past 7 years, 8 years.
What are the businesses that are being used to fraud the taxpayer here in Minnesota? You have the daycares. What are all of them?
So you have, you have child care, you have adult daycare, you have in-home health care, you have straight health care, and nobody really knows how that's defined. And then you have transportation, non-emergency medical transportation. And if you do a search, you'll see that the state of Minnesota says they have 1,020 non-emergency medical transportation companies, and my research is showing that 95% of those are Somali owned. And what I know is that the people writing the checks at the state of Minnesota never, ever, ever verify that any trip was ever made or that any appointment was ever made with a dentist, chiropractor, or anything.
And so these people are able to start these businesses and then immediately get funds from the government?
Yes, so interestingly that you bring up licensing, because another area of fraud that I exposed was all of these autism centers, because I would drive around the Twin Cities. I said, well, there's another autism center. I said, what's going on with all this autism? Is there something in the water? And then I started to look at, well, who owns these autism centers? And virtually 99% of them were owned by Somalis.
And is there an autism outbreak here in Minnesota right now?
There is not. But to open an autism center, you do not need a license.
And so people are claiming their children are autistic to receive money from the government.
Yes.
And the government, underneath Tim Walz's leadership, they're not going in, investigating, and doing their due diligence to say, maybe we shouldn't give this company $1 million.
Well, so what's happening is there have been some sporadic inspections done at these facilities, and I have records of some of these inspections. And one inspection, they'll get 11 violations. A child care facility with 11 violations, that is bad. I mean, unsanitary conditions, broken furniture, no play area for the children. And so they write these things in their report, but then they never follow up to make sure. They never physically revisit the site to make sure that any of those violations are corrected. What they accept is documentation from the center that they've made the corrections.
So at the end of the day, they're able to violate certain guidelines, yet they still receive money somehow. How is there not somebody inside the state who's saying, okay, we're seeing this fraud happen, let's maybe not just continue to give money to these people?
So you've probably heard the term Minnesota nice before, which back in the old times, in the old days, it meant something. Now it's actually a curse upon us because the people here, the majority of the people, they're afraid of their own shadows. I'm an outcast because I'm exposing this fraud. I'm telling the truth. My family has basically disowned me because of all of this fraud that I've uncovered, and I've been called a racist, an Islamophobe, a white supremacist, Nazi, all these things. And I said, look, everything that I talk about is verified. I have it in writing. I've gone to politicians. I've gone to Washington, D.C. over the years. I said, look, this fraud is out of control. This is approaching $100 billion. And now you see the U.S. attorney, they started with the Feeding Our Future, $250 million. I said, no, that's amateur hour. Then they said it's $1 billion. Now, just today, the U.S. attorney held a press conference and said the fraud is possibly as much as $18 billion, but we don't really know what period of time. And I'm telling you, it's way more than that. You have transportation, autism, childcare, daycare, healthcare, and nobody knows what's healthcare because they're not healthcare providers. So what is the healthcare? They have in-home healthcare.
And so what's the need, for example, for 1,200 transportation companies inside of Minnesota? What's the need for that many transportation?
Well, there isn't. There isn't. You're talking about getting a ride. You already have services that are provided. You have Metro Mobility that offers free rides to seniors and low-income people.
This is my second channel called Nick Shirley Interviews, and just the other week, 72 hours after I had posted the most viral video expose in the history of the internet, where I exposed Minnesota fraud, I agreed to do an interview with Andrew Callahan. Before that, I had done Patrick Bet-David, Iced Coffee Hour, and so I had literally been going from 72 hours of just nonstop chaos, and Andrew hit me up. I said, yeah, let's do the interview. Me and Andrew had talked before. We were in good relations before as far as like having mutual respect for one another, and I said, yeah, let's do the interview. And then about a week and a half later, he then posted the interview, and I see the interview and I say, what is this? This is only an hour long. And then I watch the interview and I say, wait, what's going on? This isn't the full interview. Like, what is this? And I want to give you guys 2 examples before I go into the entire 2.5 interview with Andrew. The first one is right here when we're talking about America's cities that are prospering. Pay close attention to what he puts in versus what actually happens. This is the first example. What American city is prospering right now?
Austin.
Austin. Name another one.
El Paso, Texas.
El Paso, Texas is prospering.
Yeah.
Nashville.
Nashville's doing good. Phoenix is doing good. Basically, any place with low state tax is getting a lot of.
In any place that's not Democrat.
I don't know about that. I mean,
Name a Democrat city that's prospering right now.
Oh, mic was off. Thank you, Sid. Charlotte, Eva, good to see you over on Twitch. Thanks for joining me. We are watching a Nick Shirley interview with Andrew Callahan, and he's illustrating here with the full interview.
Well, it would have to be one that's
its
affordable.
full length being 2 hours 35 minutes, whereas the interview that Andrew released is only an hour long. And how much work Andrew did to edit and to cut anything Nick Shirley said that made him look good or that was, common sense, had good points, had good rhetoric, had good statistics to show up. And yeah, it's one of those things.
Name one.
Denver.
Yep, link should be in the
Why are
description
you
somewhere in the
smirking?
channel.
It's not prospering. Denver's not prospering either. Yeah.
Denver,
Why are you smirking?
because I don't know if it's prospering.
Because it's not.
Yeah, check this out, guys.
Place that's
This is the this is Channel 5's version of the interview.
not Democrat.
I don't know about that. I mean,
Name a Democrat city that's prospering right now.
well, it would have to be one that's affordable.
Name one.
Denver.
Why are you smirking? It's not prospering. Denver's not prospering either. Yeah.
So Andrew cut that off right there. But then this is Nick's video that shows that it goes further in that conversation.
Denver,
Why are you smirking?
because I don't know if it's prospering.
Because it's not. See, you can't even answer the question. It's not prospering. Denver's not prospering either.
I agree that Democrat-run states are doing badly.
And now
I agree that Democrat-run states are doing badly. But of course, you didn't see any of that in the interview that Andrew released. None of it. Not a single bit. It's absolutely asinine. How dishonest can you get, bro?
Now, the second example, when we're talking about Somalians being known for pirating, as 89% of the fraud that has been charged inside of Minnesota, 89% of the fraud that's happening in Minnesota is by Somalians. And so this is what Andrew puts in the interview.
Somali community?
Day's
Or do you
going
see
well,
it as
Charlotte.
both?
89% of the fraud is being committed by Somalians.
Where exactly is that statistic from?
You can pull it up on the screen. You'll find it.
I just want to know where it's from.
You want me to find it right now?
For sure, just so I can, I don't know, I believe you. I just want to make sure we have the exact.
Here, right here. Yeah, and it's not racist to say it. Probably. And when I go to the daycares, there's not a single white person running. And this is what he just, for some reason, decides not to put in the interview.
89% of those charged in connection with major. Wow.
Identified as Somalian Americans.
Well, looks like we've got to redo there. It looks like
I'm interested to see what you put in this interview.
I'm interested to see what you put in this interview.
looks like there is a problem with fraud.
So it was very obvious that
That's what Andrew said. Looks like there's a problem with fraud. And what does he release on his show? None of that information. It's all cut.
Andrew had some sort of agenda or plan as to what he wanted to make me look like inside of the interview, which is not cool. When you do a sit-down interview, you expect for the full interview to get posted, and you don't expect it to just get chopped up in one way or another just to make one person look bad. And now do I say that is my best interview of all time? Absolutely not. Like I said, functioning off of 72 hours, the craziest hour of my life, craziest days of my life. I think I had probably slept for a total of around 10 hours over the past few days. Went from Florida to Las Vegas, back here to where I'm staying. And so obviously, no, it wasn't my best interview by any means, but do I regret doing it? No, because I thought the full interview would be posted. And now I'll let you guys do what you want and make your own opinions. And at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do, is create conversation with what's happening
I thought Andrew was
inside
more
of this
honest
world.
than this.
Anyways, I hope you guys
really
enjoy. And now you guys get the full interview. And also, if you want to get yourself a quality layering hoodie, I'll leave the link in the description and in the pinned comment down below. And now let's get into the full interview.
Which I can't get into the full interview. I want to. I really do. I love Nick. He's awesome. He does amazing work. But I want you guys to just know that that's what they do. They hide, don't cover, or distort information that either they record or that they have. Like, they either aren't aware of it, they don't cover it, or they cut it out of the content, or they distort it in some way. That's all they ever do. The mainstream media, and now they've infiltrated YouTube to do the same. It's utterly unhinged. Oh, right. Yeah, this is the other thing I wanted to watch. Okay, so let's go to home. All right, let's see. We have let's put the music back on. There we go. And okay. So what's this down here? Because that's who they are. Oh, what's this? Oh, hang on. I need to, there. Kristen Suckle, I don't know who this is. Remember this, Tim Walz' hypocrisy exposed. Well, I like her already. Warned ICE would storm churches at Christmas. Now his radical left mob actually does it. Yeah. The radical left mob is the one storming churches. Because that's who they are, Walz's own words come back to haunt him as far left agitators disrupt worship services while ICE never touched a single sanctuary. And I like how Llama is like, because that's who they are. That's funny. That's good. Asmongold, Hassan Abi. Oh my god, brother. He just can't. Asmon lives rent free in Hassan's head. Oh my god. That is ridiculous. Charlotte, I can't talk about stuff like that right now. Yeah, you can send me DMs or whatever. That's fine, but I'm not looking for any kind of partnership or anything right now. Sorry about that. Thank you though. Hassan Abi, does this guy know that normal? Oh my God, Hassan. And then, oh my God, I love it. What a Chad. That has been so funny, man. All right, let's check out this video.
We have learned the U.S. has seized 2 oil tankers just hours apart, including a Russian-flagged vessel after spending weeks evading U.S. forces. And tonight, the new demand now coming in from the Kremlin.
Yes, that's right. The Russians want their oil tanker back desperately, and what nobody's talking about is this seizure represents a reset of the global deck in a big way. A way that is very bad news for the Kremlin, because the oil in this tanker was sanctioned illegal oil from their former puppet state, Venezuela, the sale of which was propping up not only that regime, but also the regimes in Iran and Cuba, while sustaining Russia's war effort. And right now, Russia's puppet states, they're all collapsing in unison, and that's got people in Moscow thinking they could be next.
Tonight, the bold U.S. seizure of 2 oil tankers accused of transporting sanctioned Venezuelan oil, including a Russian-flagged vessel that had been evading U.S. forces for weeks.
Let me tell you what it's doing. I think he is fully suffocating Putin to the point where you ever gone into a fight and the guy is choking you and you're willing to do anything and everything to get out of it, or else you're going to pass out and you do something really dumb and reckless? What's Putin's next move?
Near Iceland, that Russian-flagged tanker seized, the Marinera, formerly known as the Bella One, being pursued by the U.S. Coast Guard. That vessel also linked to Venezuela's illicit oil trade, eluding capture for weeks.
There can be a line, in fact, drawn from Venezuela across the Atlantic Ocean and then over to Russia's war in Ukraine, as we're seeing it here. Remember, Russia's own exports of oil, funding its own invasion of Ukraine.
The carrot and the stick, right? The carrot has always been stop the war in Ukraine and join us and let's do a lot of business. We'll buy all your oil again. The stick is we're going to slowly strangle you and there's nothing you can do about it.
So this little game the Russians like to play where they evade sanctions and fuel America's enemies, well, that game is over. And nobody's talking about how the conflict in Venezuela has allowed America under the Trump administration to put pressure on Russia like never before. And this rusting hulk that was just impounded was part of Putin's precious shadow fleet of ghost ships, dodging every Western sanction to keep the cash flowing for his endless war in Ukraine, as well as propping up puppet state regimes with the goal of pressuring America and defying freedom from our very doorstep and also in the Middle East. But here's where things get really scary and really frightening if you're in Russia. The U.S. Coast Guard, they chased this tanker for weeks. It was headed to a friendly port. It was trying to get back to Russia, and the U.S. Coast Guard commandeered it like it was absolutely nothing, and took it over under a federal warrant for hauling sanctioned stolen Venezuela crude while this thing was escorted by a Russian submarine. That's right, it was supposed to be safe, but it wasn't. And not only was there nothing the Russians could do to stop the taking of this tanker, the rest of their ghost fleet is now on notice. And so is their entire war machine. Oil is their lifeline, and without the ability to evade U.S. sanctions and launder money and coordinate with America's enemies, one has to wonder how the Russians will fund chaos in the Caribbean, Ukraine, and in the Middle East. And once that stops, the country will find itself isolated, cut off, and all alone, backed into a corner by the entire Western world. But what's really scary for the Russians is how obvious it is that their own boats are no longer safe anywhere in the world.
The bold U.S. seizure of 2 oil tankers accused of transporting sanctioned Venezuelan oil, including a Russian-flagged vessel that had been evading U.S. forces for weeks. U.S. helicopters swooping in during a dramatic pre-dawn operation. Elite Coast Guard forces rappelling onto the deck of the Sophia, a tanker sailing in international waters near the Caribbean. Near Iceland, that Russian-flagged tanker seized, the Marinera, formerly known as the Bella One, being pursued by the U.S. Coast Guard. That vessel also linked to Venezuela's illicit oil trade, eluding capture for weeks after an earlier attempt to seize the ship in the Caribbean did not succeed.
Well, I guess all of that fear-mongering about the Russian Navy and how it's so deadly and how it's everywhere and how they got these super secret subs and we don't even know where they're at and the U.S. is powerless to stop these guys. I mean, where was the Russian Navy on this? They were escorting this thing. They were trying to keep it safe. They were trying to send a message that, hey, listen.
Charlotte over on Twitch is saying, says, you should get some stuff for your channel. Yeah, I'm working on that for sure. Logo, banner, overlay. Yep, absolute.
Listen, you want to mess with Venezuela? No problem.
We're getting there.
You know, if you want to mess with us, I mean, we're ready to go. That tanker's done. That oil is headed for the U.S. Strategic Reserve right now, but there's more. Because this raid signals the end of Russian influence in the U.S.'s Western Hemisphere. That's right. If their boats aren't safe and their puppet regimes are collapsing, what business do they have over here? None. Absolutely none. And if they can't project power here like they used to through Venezuela and Cuba, which is probably not going to be around too much longer in its current state, They got no business here. They can't threaten America. They got nothing. They can be our neighbor way up there by Alaska, and that's it.
Crew hurriedly painting the Russian flag on the side of it, trying to deter a U.S. seizure.
Yeah, they became
the
Russian.
Kremlin now demanding the safe return of that crew.
They were Russian
the
to become
administration
Russian.
insisting this is all part of a larger plan to control Venezuela.
The way that we control Venezuela is we control the purse strings, we control the energy resources, and we tell the regime, you're allowed to sell the oil so long as you serve America's national interest.
And that does not mean selling your illegal sanctioned stolen oil which was stolen from U.S. companies decades ago, to America's enemies. You don't do that, especially when America's enemies are going to go out there and use that oil to make war against our allies. Yet for some reason, former U.S. presidents allowed this axis of evil to exist for decades. We're talking Russia, Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, countries that helped Russia evade U.S. law enforcement and sanctions, making them basically worthless while enriching themselves. And after enriching themselves, what do? They then go and buy Russian military aircraft and hardware and use that to threaten their neighbors, but not anymore.
The Trump administration has translated to Delcy Rodriguez, the now interim president of Venezuela, that in order to resume oil production and oil sales, they must sever economic ties with the United States' foreign adversaries. That includes countries like China, Russia, Cuba, Iran, all countries that have really been propping up
regimes.
What was Maduro's regime for so many years.
These places were propping up each other. It's not like these places propped up Venezuela and got nothing in return for it. No, you know what Venezuela was doing? That communist country, they failed so spectacularly. They've got the most oil in the entire world, but their oil industry couldn't maintain itself profitably enough to continue operating. So what do the Venezuelans do? Well, they said, hey, look, we've got all this oil, but we can't refine it anymore because due to corruption and mismanagement and our terrible economic policy of communism, all of our infrastructure's rotted away. But guess what? Russia and Iran, they know how to refine this oil. So why don't we load up these rusting tankers and sail them across the 7 seas to these regimes, let them keep however much of it they want, and then they'll send us back one of these tankers, which is 25% full, maybe it's half full of refined gasoline. So in Venezuela, we can drive around in our cars. And then, you know what? If we have any oil left over, we'll sell it to Cuba. Keep them going. Keep that regime propped up while Cuba allegedly was sending security forces over to Venezuela to help protect Maduro. Those were the people guarding him when the U.S. extracted him from his bedroom at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I think this is about India. Again, multiple goals here.
Oh, yeah, they buy Russian
the
oil.
tanker, say you're violating sanctions, we're going to enforce sanctions. Who is the biggest buyer of Russian oil right now?
India.
Seizing stuff like this is America first? Yeah, Rosebud, it is.
There is a ton of it floating around the world right now. There is a massive amount of seaborne oil at sea inventories. And so what they're saying to India is, look, we've tolerated it. We've let it happen. We've talked about it.
Yeah.
We've given you warnings. Now we're actually going to act on it.
Rob, what's this?
This is President Trump aboard Air Force One, where he talked about sanctions against India for purchasing Russian
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He wanted to make me happy, basically. He wanted to. Modi's a very good man.
Yes.
He's a good guy. He knew I was not happy. And it was important to make me happy. They do trade.
It's important to make me
And
happy.
we can raise tariffs on them very quickly, and it would be
People are
very
afraid
bad
of
for them.
So when India's buying Russian oil, and Russian oil is mixed with Venezuelan stolen oil, India's getting a pretty good deal because Russia can sell that oil at low prices because they got some of it for free. But here's how things are now different. India's a very smart country. They've got an India first agenda.
I mean, that's the problem. It's like, for real, you can't have India fueling the Russian war machine. You know what I mean? It's like, on the last episode of America First, India tries to make a deal with Russia and provide them with economic resources, oil, and other bits of nonsense. But Trump, stepping in like the hero that he is, says no. No to India. You can't do that. That's not America First. We only want Americans and the democracy way of life to prevail in the world. And so you cannot do this, India. You cannot do this, Venezuela. America will win everything and all things, all the time, the greatest country to ever walk the earth, America, the United States.
Over there, as they should, as every nation should have. But what have they been doing? They've been doing what they can for their people. They've been getting the cheapest fuel that they can so that they can expand their economy and have prosperous lives. But the only reason they've been able to do that is because worthless U.S. presidents in the past put sanctions on Russia and they did nothing to enforce those sanctions. So what happens? We got illegal oil shipping all over the world. We've got Russia offloading that illegal oil, selling it to other countries who they shouldn't even be buying it but are allowed to get away with it because we tolerated it. Well, that's now over. And with Russia no longer having access to vast oil markets, oil's like 30% of their GDP, around that much. If 30% of how they make money goes in the tank,
not no more, baby.
Wage war forever. And Russia might have massive other problems on top of that.
State-owned refiners in India are still buying Russian oil. The U.S. imposed a secondary 25% tariff on Indian goods in August, citing New Delhi's continued imports of Russian crude. Washington also sanctioned Russian oil companies Lukoil and Rosneft in late November. On Sunday, Lindsey Graham,
why weren't they sanctioned
US
before?
Ambassador Vinay Mohan Katara had asked him to urge President Trump to lift these tariffs, arguing that New Delhi has reduced its purchase of Russian oil, while India's overall demand for Russian oil, crude oil fell in December. Analysts say the decline was largely driven by reduced buying from Mukesh Ambani-owned Reliance Industries, which had been a major importer before the U.S. sanctions.
You know, so there you have it. It's not like President Trump is telling India, hey, you can't buy Russian oil. Basically saying, look, you can still buy it if you want to, but if you want to buy it and you want to support America's enemies, you're going to pay it back when you do business with our economy. This is why the whole tariff thing is such a smart way to peacefully govern and peacefully protect American interests, because that high tariff that stops Indian companies from succeeding in our economy offsets any gains their economy might have on a productivity basis from getting super cheap oil that makes things more efficient over there. You see how this works? That's why the whole tariff thing is really smart. We don't have to go to war with Russia. Okay, maybe we have to seize a tanker or two when it's full of illegal sanctioned Venezuelan oil and we've got a court order to do it. Maybe we've got to do that. But by cutting Russia off and basically tanking one of the largest sectors of their economy peacefully without firing a shot, Vladimir's going to have to decide how bad he really wants to keep fighting an endless war in Ukraine while not doing business with the United States, while losing access to the world's greatest economy himself. Think about it. The U.S. and Russia could really help each other if they were friendly, if we didn't have these endless wars, and that's the end game here. But wait till you hear how bad things are going to get for Russia before they come around.
Think about what could be done here. So Russia, and you know, when you talk about going after the core, the nucleus of somebody's power, like 30 to 40% of Russia's GDP comes from selling oil. So it's already hurting them that oil's down from $70 or $80 a barrel to like 56 now, which I almost think the market was anticipating this takeover of Venezuela with what oil prices have been doing. So what could be done now where India buys like 30% of, they represent like 30% of Russia's oil buyer. So now could we start selling Venezuela's oil to India to offset that?
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Russia's oil, because if we chop away at Russia's oil demand, then that decimates them.
What a win we've got going on here. India wants cheap oil. They want to have really cheap oil. Guess what? They're going to get all that Venezuelan oil. Venezuela's got plenty of oil to sell India, which means India is going to help restore Venezuela while no longer helping Russia at all. So this is going to be a major win for India. It's going to be a major win for Venezuela. It's going to be a major win for the U.S. companies who are now going back into Venezuela to work on extracting oil that they had to extract.
That's what I've been saying.
This is going to be great for everybody.
Yeah, this is not regime change wars, forever wars, none of that. It's none of that. It's all surgical ops to put America first in the best position, both militarily, strategically, and economically. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Very bad for the Russians at the exact same time. Also, think about this. If low oil prices are bad for America's enemies, like Russia, How does a green agenda that wants to jack up domestic oil prices, not just here, but in Europe and in other parts of the globe, how is that a good thing? That green agenda, that whole scam, that was enriching America's enemies as well.
The lower price in oil and the lack of buying pressure from countries, because it's really just China and India that buys Russian oil, and Iran a little bit. But so, if Iran falls,
look at this.
We have Venezuela's oil. Then really, we have the biggest oil-producing countries in the world, like at our mercy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you know what this is doing? Let me tell you what it's doing. And this is the feeling I'm getting. And I'm really curious to know how he's going to react. I think he is fully suffocating Putin.
Yeah.
I think he is fully suffocating Putin to the point where you ever gone into a fight and the guy is choking you and you're willing to do anything and everything to get out of it, or else you're going to pass out and you do something really dumb and reckless?
Mm-hmm.
What's Putin's next move? Actually think about it.
Another submarine?
No, but really, what do you do next?
Easy. End the war in Ukraine.
There you go.
Start
End the
cooperating
war.
in a fair, peaceful way with the rest of the world economy. That's going to...
Okay, we got... This is what I've been looking for, guys. I just got sent this in my Discord. A breakdown of the Andrew Callahan and Nick Shirley interview, and the difference between it and Nick Shirley's actual interview.
Nick Shirley just sat down with the guy who runs
Warren Smith is one of the best people to be able to do this.
Channel 5 News. This guy calls himself a leftist, not a liberal. And about 30 minutes in, Nick confronts him on his actions in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Am I not saying anything about the death of Charlie Kirk as well? I thought that was kind of messed up of you to not publicly denounce what happened to Charlie Kirk.
I did.
I never saw anything on Instagram.
What am I supposed to say?
You never shared anything.
I interviewed the guy who was debating him while it happened, and I mentioned a bunch of times that it was horrible.
I think it's a larger modality because this guy is an open leftist, not even a liberal.
I did lose respect for you when it felt like you went silent.
He asks Nick, how can I gain more respect from the audience? And Nick's response is rather clear.
How do you think I could build more credibility on the more conservative side of the aisle as far as interviews go?
Don't be afraid to say, what are Somalians known for? When you know the answer inside your head, but you're too afraid to say it.
So Nick asks him, what are Somalians known for? If you ask yourself, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably
piracy.
Captain now. Captain Phillips, the movie.
Well, I just don't know if it's based on a stereotype or if it's not.
You know what they're known for. You said it.
And this guy admits that, yeah, that's true for him as well, but he doesn't want to say it. Because we're narrative creatures, it's important to analyze how we utilize these narratives. We can acknowledge stereotype without claiming that stereotype is necessarily true. He won't say it. According to him, you have to go to the restaurants. How many restaurants? You have to attend dances. How many dances? You have to speak to people in the community. How many people in the community?
So you're scared.
I'm not scared. I just want to
No,
I have
you
to
were
go
scared 'cause
and
you had to
talk to
think.
them.
You had
I'm
to
not
think.
scared. I don't want to go out and say things about people if I don't know the community. I gotta go to the restaurants.
But
I gotta go
I asked
to
you the
some of the
question, what are they-
dances.
And if you do not cross that line, then you are not able to speak about it, which makes conversation impossible.
But
I
asked you the question, what are they known for? And I knew you knew what they were.
Because Hollywood promoted Captain Phillips. I mean, what are we known for in Somalia? I don't know. Cheeseburgers?
So why'd you question your thought?
I'm not that smart.
When do you choose to say what
Well, that's true. You're not that smart anymore, Andrew.
you think, even though, yes, we are all dumb on some level?
So you're asking how do you gain credibility and trust? Well, you say a fact for a fact.
And the fact is that the first thing I think of when I think
And the
of
fact
Somalia
is, what are
is
Somalians
Captain
known
Phillips.
for? Pirating.
The interesting factor here is the fact that you cannot acknowledge that. It's not the stereotype itself.
Well, that's in Somalia. There's no pirates in America.
Who's stealing all the money in
It's not
Minnesota?
the same as a
Bro,
pirate.
That is-
come on.
Piracy. So how do you gain more trust? Well, don't be afraid to say a fact or an opinion.
Even
when
if
you
I know that I'm dumb.
Yes.
If that's your standard, when does it become acceptable to just speak in generalities for the sake of having a conversation?
You're afraid of your viewers watching this video calling you a racist or Islamophobe.
No, to clarify.
You knew that word, Andrew. You knew you were saying pirate. You knew in your mind.
Well,
you
you're
knew
asking
pirate.
me to think in a stereotypical
So, and I don't even know how to spell his last name, so I can't get
mind. What do I think comes?
And you're-
what's the
you're
first
afraid to
stereotype?
say it, though.
You're asking me what's the first stereotype that comes to mind when I think about Somalia?
I said, what are they known for?
They are known by Americans who don't know Somalis.
And what are they
for
known
Captain
across
Phillips.
the West for?
Well, the West is very much indoctrinated by Hollywood. I'm just saying I want to wait to answer that before I actually have engaged with the community on a level to where I can actually say they're known for this type of thing. 'Cause
Well,
I
when
don't
they're
wanna
committing 89% of the fraud in Minnesota.
But that wasn't the question. You asked me, hey, what are Somalis known for? And
There
of
it
course
is.
I'm
I mean, it's right.
Speaking of the movie, because
What more do you want, Andrew?
Yeah, but it's a fact that they're committing some sort of piracy in
Be
Minnesota.
honest. Yeah,
The
exactly,
electoral fraud
Elrich.
committed by Somalis.
He openly admits that he is a leftist. He is not a liberal. He claims that there has never been a leftist government that he would like to see.
We haven't had a sizable leftist political party in America in American history.
He's pushing for an increased divide between leftists and center liberals.
You had Joe Biden.
Liberals. Centrist liberals defending defending elite interests.
And you had Obama.
Centrist liberal defending elite interests.
So who are you going to support? You need to support somebody.
He just circumvents this question by claiming, well, I believe in voting locally. So you're just not going to vote for president? Okay.
I support voting on a local level especially. I think that's probably the most important thing you can do. So I support voting on a local level for sure.
And if we want to create change nationally, you have to support somebody. You have to choose.
This is one of his peers, similar age group, similar job, but they go about it two very different ways. It's very interesting to see them sit down together and challenge one another.
If you're going to come after me for exposing fraud, something is morally wrong with your brain, where you've gotten to the point where you think fraud is good.
Notice how he launches immediately into this defense.
That perspective is probably more like these people are socioeconomically disadvantaged.
Therefore what?
No, it's not.
Because they're socioeconomically disadvantaged, the fraud is...
They are, yeah, that somehow justifies their ability to commit fraud and steal $9 billion in taxpayer money.
It's excusable.
I don't think so.
That makes it understandable. I'm not sure what his point is.
Well, they're here in America. We all have the same opportunity. They're Somalian Americans.
You don't have to overhaul your whole life in 2026. Start by swapping out the snacks that you put into your body with things that use actual real ingredients like masa chips. It's the easiest way to eat clean without feeling like you're on a diet. Masa's chips contain 3 ingredients: organic nixtamalized corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. That's it. No seed oils, no mystery chemicals, just real food. They taste good.
Okay.
And snacking, I'm hungry afterwards. Personally, I've been enjoying the Slack or scan super
between areas.
Pick up a couple of bags before they're gone.
Well, there's pretty significant funding and financial disparities between areas in the U.S.
But what is your point?
Well, 80% of Somalians
What's your point?
are on welfare.
But welfare doesn't necessarily cover
Dude, he's being so evasive.
everything. It's not like they give you a ridiculous amount of money.
Therefore, it's understandable that they commit fraud because they don't get enough welfare. That seems to be the logic here.
I think if sympathy overpowers your ability to look at a situation objectively, that would be an example of you kind of being hypnotized by the wrong sources of information.
That's ironic because I do think that is what is occurring.
But I think you can have sympathy for people struggling looking for a better life.
Yes, I can sympathize with the struggle for a better life. Okay.
It's just simple supply and demand. If you have 20 million people who need to come and buy a house or rent an apartment, and you have other people who need it, you're going to raise the prices.
This gets remarkable. Listen to his response to this.
Landlords have been raising the prices systematically since the 1980s. I mean, the reason you can't buy a house is not because of an immigrant.
If you have this many people utilizing the system, taking advantage of the system, it will be a contributing factor. It's not going to be the sole factor.
They want us to think that because it's an easier scapegoat.
The issue of supply and demand instantly comes into place when you bring in 20 million people.
If anything, wouldn't they lower the rent?
How would that lower the rent? An increase of 20 million people.
Dude, it wouldn't lower the rent at all.
That would increase demand, which would increase your ability to charge more. This goes against the basic concepts of economics.
No, because then they have more competition and they can raise the prices.
I just don't think that immigrants are increasing the density of New York City.
He says New York City, but let's just apply this logic to any city. Are immigrants increasing the density in London? This comes down to physics and physical space. More people increases density.
It screwed over me and your generation. How are people supposed to be able to buy homes?
We can't.
Exactly.
But you think closing the border will make it so we can buy it?
Yeah, it'll help.
A home?
It's frustrating when people do this. He's oversimplifying the frame. No one's claiming that the open border is the reason home prices
it's not the reason
they're so high. There are going to be multiple contributing factors. Logically, that will be one.
When have you seen an American city? What American city is prospering right now?
Austin.
Austin. Name another one.
El Paso, Texas.
El Paso, Texas is prospering?
Yeah. Nashville's doing good. Phoenix is doing good. Basically, any place with low state taxes.
Listen to what he just said there. Any place with low state tax. That's going to be very relevant.
That's a Republican thing.
Relevant in just a moment.
In any place that's not Democrat.
I don't know about that.
I mean, name a Democrat city that's prospering right now.
Well, it would have to be one that's affordable.
Name one.
Denver.
Why are you smirking? It's not prospering. Denver's not prospering either.
He even acknowledges the liberal cities are the most expensive cities. They're going to have higher tax rates.
Those are also the most expensive cities, and they generate the large majority of the tax revenue for the entire country.
Just a moment earlier, he acknowledged that it is pivotal for innovation to have lower tax rates. And now he's justifying the higher tax rates.
Even money made in a blue state still cycles back on a federal level to benefit, everything that we use tax money for.
He says to the guy who has blown the lid off of using taxpayer funds for fraud.
Man, What an epic own. That was a burn by Warren Smith. We love to see it. All right, guys. Now we're actually officially done. We're going into Ember. I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening. We'll see you on later tonight. I will be live again, hopefully, and tomorrow as well. Love y'all. Stay safe. Be cool. Be chill. See you next time.
For me on the